And I'd like to also recognize the attendance of our colleagues, the directors or the representatives of International Office of Higher Education Institutions of Muhammadiyah and ICA in Indonesia, and all the participants of our today's webinar. A very good afternoon for the participants in Indonesia and a very good morning for our colleagues in UK. Alhamdulillah bil alamin, wa bihi nasta'inu ala umuri dunya waddin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin, Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Very warm welcome to the first webinar series, the topic of internationalization from an Islamic organization perspective, the lesson learned or the best practices from Muhammadiyah Indonesia and Minhaj Welfare Foundation in UK. This webinar is held as the implementation of collaboration between the Council for Higher Education Research and Development of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah and Minhaj Welfare Foundation in UK. I am Ida Puspita, and it's my honor to be the MC as well as the moderator of our today's virtual seminar. First of all, may I briefly highlight the flow of our agenda today. First is the opening by the moderator, which is ongoing at the moment. The second one is the opening remarks from the Vice Chairman of the Council for Higher Education, Research and Development of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Edi Hamid. And the third agenda will be our main agenda, which is discussion from the two respected speakers from the Central Board of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Abdul, Master of Education, and Minhaj Welfare Foundation or Minhaj Quran International from UK, Professor Dr. Hussain Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. I hope I do not mispronounce his name. And the fourth agenda will be question and answer session. And before the closing, there will be a recap or the conclusion of the discussion. And the last agenda will be the picture taking and also the closing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's now together open this webinar by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And we are now in the second agenda, which is the opening remarks from the Vice Chairman of the Council of Higher Education, Research and Development of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Edi Hamid. Professor Edi, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Bu Ida. Honorable Professor Abdul Mukti, General Secretary of Central Muhammadiyah, also Professor Hussain Adnan Sohail of Minhaj, distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Hussain Mohi, and also Mrs. Ida Puspita from Ahmad Dahlan University, that's my colleagues, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from Yogyakarta. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, praise our gratitude to God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has given us with good health and great opportunity to join this webinar. Second one, I would like to convey the apology from Professor Lincolin Arsyad, the Chairman of the Council of Higher Education and Research of Muhammadiyah, for not being able to attend this opening session of this webinar series due to the other activity, which is he also should attending this afternoon in Yogyakarta. The third one, on behalf of Board of Higher Education and Research of Muhammadiyah, I would like to thank to all speakers, Professor Abdul Mukti, Professor Hussain Mohi, and also Bu Ida Puspita, as well as all participants to take a part in this Zoom seminar. I hope this webinar series, inshallah, will give us knowledge and benefit for all of us. Prof. Mukti, Prof. Hussain, Bu Ida, ladies and gentlemen, current event is a part the first webinar series organized by Majelis Diktilitbang Pimpinan Pusat Muhammadiyah in collaboration with Minhaj Welfare Foundation. This forum will be continued with other webinars in the near future. As mentioned before by Bu Ida, the theme of the webinar series is Internationalisation from an Islamic organization perspective. This topic is very important to be discussed, especially in what we call as a globalization era, an era where national boundaries are very, very thin. Therefore, internationalization is an inevitability, is necessary, tidak bisa kita elakkan. For Muhammadiyah, entering the global arena is a necessity. Why? Because we don't want to be just a jago kandang, just an inward looking, but we also want to enter international stages, international arena, international environment through outward looking policies and activities. Muhammadiyah, for instance, has started to carry out its global dakwah, maybe we can say like that, by opening schools in Egypt, also Australia, especially in Melbourne, state of Victoria. I went there, I think, 2 or 3 times already. And universities in Paris, Malaysia, UMAM, Universitas Muhammadiyah Antarbangsa Malaysia. These are part of internationalization program of Central Muhammadiyah. As we know, ladies and gentlemen, this is also amanah or order of 47th of Muktamar Muhammadiyah in Makassar, 2015. Therefore, the current webinar series, I think, is very important and relevant to us, especially member of Persyariatan Muhammadiyah. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, once again, on behalf of Central Board of Management of the Council of Higher Education, Research and Development of Muhammadiyah, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for the time you spent. I wish we meet again in the second webinar series next time. Thank you very much. Happy discussion and brainstorming. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Edi, for the opening remarks and also for the reminder for all of us that internationalization is a fact that we cannot be avoided anymore at this moment. And I have received information from the committee that Professor Muti has already attended this webinar. Selamat sore, Assalamualaikum, Professor Muti.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for attending our webinar today, Professor Muti, and it's about time for your question actually after the opening from Professor Edi. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to our main agenda today because we already have our first speaker from the Central Board of Muhammadiyah, the Secretary General, Professor Muti, and I'd like to invite Professor Muti, Professor Dr. Abdul Muti, Master of Education, to deliver his presentation, and allow me to read a brief profile of Professor Muti. Professor Muti has finished his master's degree in Flinders University in South Australia, and his PhD degree in the university where he is now working as the professor in the Islamic State University of Syarif Hidayatullah, Jakarta. And he has ever received a Chevening Fellowship grant in the University of Birmingham, UK. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Abdul to take over the screen. The screen is yours, Professor Muti.
Thank you, Ibu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Very good morning for our brothers and sisters from UK, and good afternoon for all Indonesian participants. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, la hawla wa la quwata illa billah, amma ba'd. First of all, allow me to express my gratitude and thanks to Council of Higher Education and Research, Central Board Muhammadiyah, or Majelis Diktilitbang PP Muhammadiyah, and together with us, Professor Dr. Edi Suwandi Hamid, the Vice Chairman of Majelis Diktilitbang, and esteemed brothers and sisters from Minhaj, United Kingdom, and also Minhaj Network in the world, or maybe Minhajul Quran. And together with us is Professor Dr. Hussain Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. And of course, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. This topic is very timely and very relevant to the theme of 48 Muktamar of Muhammadiyah, which is memajukan Indonesia, mencerahkan semesta. Under this topic, Muhammadiyah has a very strong commitment to continue and to extend its movement not only within home country of Indonesia, but to overseas. It's already briefly explained by Professor Edi Suwandi that Muhammadiyah actually already set up, or maybe already built some schools overseas in Australia, in Malaysia, and also in Egypt. And hopefully there are also other Muhammadiyah educational institutions in many countries in the world. And Muhammadiyah also already has at least 28 branches or special branches and some sister organizations that already become one of the network of Muhammadiyah at international level. And having this potential and also partnership experience in partnership with many different international organizations, both government and non-government organizations, then Muhammadiyah is confident to move forward to again extend its movement or its da'wah, not only in Indonesia, but also in many other countries. There are at least three reasons why Muhammadiyah having this kind of agenda for the future activities. The first, there might be, I can say, a theological reason, is related to Islam as a religion of the universe. Islam is a religion for the world and religion for people, for all kind of mankind and people all over the world. The second, of course, is related to Muhammadiyah, as could be refers to its name, Muhammadiyah, that at least stand for two meanings. The first, Muhammadiyah, means the follower of Prophet Muhammad, in which Muhammadiyah intend and deliberately aims at following consistently the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad. But the second, Muhammadiyah, could also mean the successor of the Prophet Muhammad, meaning Muhammadiyah has responsibility to deliver Islam as the religion for all over the world. It is actually reflected, or maybe one of the actualization of the verse of the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, in which it is stated that when Prophet Muhammad is sent down by Allah as the messenger that spread Islam, teaches Islam, and its mission for people in the world, then Muhammadiyah as the successor of the Prophet Muhammad also aims at spreading Islam as a religion for people all over the world. It is one of the theological reason, and also maybe we can say Muhammadiyah reasons why we intend to extend Muhammadiyah to become international movement. The second might be related to the reality and the challenge of Islam in the world now. After 9/11, we face a very serious challenge that portrayed Islam as a religion of violence. Islam as a religion that very attributable to terrorism and some other kinds of radicalism. Having this internationalization, Muhammadiyah intends to promote what we call a peaceful Islam or a smiling Islam, in which Muhammadiyah tend to deliver Islam that is meaningful and that is actually also beneficial to solve the problem and the challenge for people all over the world. This might be too ambitious, but if we see how we could work in this very big agenda, I think there is possibility that we can do this for the future. The first, of course, Muhammadiyah has branches in at least 28 countries. The second, Muhammadiyah, again, already has experience with many international and also very prestigious international organization, both based on the state level or also organization that are actually civil society organization. Muhammadiyah has experience working with many different partners in many different fields, not only in education, but also in humanitarian. I think the one that Muhammadiyah now has become one of the prominent Islamic movement is because of its participation and its contribution in many humanitarian work. The third, of course, Muhammadiyah has potentials that academically also as internationally recognized. And having these human resources, Muhammadiyah is confident to promote Islam as religion of peace and religion that is actually reflecting the modern face of Islam. And it's also the experience of Muhammadiyah to have network with many different organizations. So far, Muhammadiyah has a partnership with organization in UK, organization in United States, in Australia, and elsewhere in the world. And it is in this context that our international virtual conference today is one of the examples how we could work together to promote a peaceful Islam or a smiling Islam. We see the possibility to explore some strategic partnership with many different partners of Islamic organization and also non-Islamic organization as part of the implementation of the Quran teaching that is ta'awanu 'alal birri wat taqwa wa la ta'awanu 'alal itsmi wal 'udwan. We have this kind of internationalization and partnership with many different partners in the world as part of this Quranic teaching implementation. It is through this international conference and the topic of internationalization as part of our series conference organized or jointly organized between Muhammadiyah and Minhaj in UK as one of the very important steps for further partnership and maybe also further cooperation between Muhammadiyah and Minhaj organization. I think this is my very brief contribution for this international conference, and hopefully we could further discuss in our international conference today. Thank you very much. Nasrun minallah wa fathun qarib abashiril mu'minin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Mohi, for your insightful presentation. Short but very compact, yeah, because I have tried to note every points, important points, and also significant points from your presentation, and it took me like 2 or 3 pages, even though you said that your presentation is very short. Before we move on to the second speaker from Minhaj Welfare Foundation, I'd like to confirm whether Professor Hussain already attended this seminar or not, Mbak Sifa? Mbak Sifa? Or
Not yet, Vida. Yeah.
Not yet, okay. So is that possible for us to open the discussion first with Professor Mohi?
Yes,
Mbak
sure.
Sifa?
Yeah, please, Vida. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mbak Sifa, and please kindly let me know if Professor Hussain has entered the Zoom in the chat box. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that there are many questions, also feedbacks from the short presentation given by Professor Mohi today, and I'd like to invite any one of you, especially probably first of all will be from our colleagues from UK, to give the feedback or response or any questions regarding the presentation from Professor Mohi today. Probably Pak Adnan or Brother Adnan, do you have any concern with the presentation?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, Assalamu alaikum to Professor Abdul Mu'ti.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
This is Adnan Sohail, the Director of Operations at Minhaj Welfare Foundation, speaking from London right now. First of all, let me just say it's an honor to be part of this collaboration with between Muhammadiyah and Minhaj. Muhammadiyah has a very long legacy in terms of the work that you are doing in Indonesia. Just my question is regarding why is it important that we have a Indonesian Islam portrayed for the Western Muslims, because obviously there is influence of Arab Islam, and I think Muslims here in the West are not exposed to the Indonesia way of Islam. You talked about the smiling Islam, and you talked about the way Indonesia has created a pluralistic way of Islam. So why do you think this is an important aspect for the West to learn from?
Professor Mohi?
Thank you very much, Brother Adnan. Of course, when we say a smiling Islam or a facing or a peaceful Islam, it does not mean that Islam in other parts of the world are not peaceful or not smiling Islam. But we face the challenge now where people have so many critics on Islam, and this critique to a large extent give us a very strong impression that we need to, let's say, refresh our Islam, and we need to make actual what is actually the teaching of Islam itself. For example, when we refer to the Quran, I just recite one of the verse of Quran is Rahmat. Islam as our Prophet Muhammad and Islam as Rahmatan lil Alamin. And if we try to understand theologically, for example, we see that the most name of Allah under the name of Asmaul Husna, the first is the attribute of Allah or the sifat of Allah as the God that is Ar-Rahman and that is Ar-Rahim. And this actually brings the understanding that the reflection of Islam itself in every part of the world is actually the reflection of the beauty of the attribute of Allah or Asma al-Husna. But we see the reality that so many external factors, to some extent, let's say, attract Muslim to so many difficult situations, and even this kind of difficult situation brought them to so many violent that we see now becoming one of the serious challenges in many parts of the world. The second, when we speak about plurality, Islam is the religion for the universe. And if we refer to so many verses of the Quran, it is mentioned that it is the sign of God that mankind is created in different languages and also different race and ethnicities. Diversity or plurality is the sunnatullah. It is one of the nature that God created mankind into different languages, different nations, and it is also affirmed in the Quran, syu'uban wa qabail lita'arafu. It is in this context then we try to bring Indonesian experience or possibly Muhammadiyah experience in Indonesia. As you see, Brother Adnan, Indonesia is a country with a very diverse in terms of religion and also in terms of races and ethnicities. We have 100 languages within this archipelago, and also we have people who embrace different religion, not only world religion, but also indigenous religion. We have experience dealing with this kind of differences where we try to maintain our brotherhood or humanity ties under the guidance of Islamic teaching. When we present Islam as the religion that is solving the problem of the people, organization that's actually solid under the umbrella of the value of Ummah and the unity under the value of Tawhid, then we actually have experienced how differences is something that could enrich us, but also something that opened the door for us to do something beneficial for them. So in this context, then we could not separate Islam from Arab, because Prophet Muhammad himself is an Arab, and the Quran also written in Arabic. Islam could not be separated from Arab, both as the territory and also the main sources of Islamic teaching. But the way Arab people practice Islam, to some extent, might not be the exact teaching of Islam, and especially also we can see the influence of certain level of Arab culture into the taste and also the implementation of Islam. It is in this context then if we try to promote or at least maybe introduce Indonesian Islam through Muhammadiyah and also through its partners in many different parts of the world, people also see that Islam is not only Arab. Muslims are not only Arab people, but Muslim are people all over the world with different nationalities, different race and ethnic groups. It is the beauty of Islam, it is the treasure of Islam, and it's the evidence that what is actually stated in the Quran is the reality in our world today. So by having this kind of, let's say, ideal and maybe we can say ambition, then Muhammadiyah hopefully could contribute somehow to enrich the treasure of Islam and to bring people understanding about the diversity and the beauty of Islam, because Islam is not only Arab, Islam is not only about Saudi, but Islam is everywhere in the world with many different cultural backgrounds, with many different nationalities, but people can still work together, join hands for the betterment of the people in the world. This is my viewpoint in relation to why it is internationalization and what is actually the value and the reasons behind this internationalization of Muhammadiyah. Hopefully it could answer your very big question, Brother Adnan.
Thank you so much. Dr. Hussain has arrived, Buida.
Yes.
So just for your information. Thank you so much.
That's good.
Thank you very much, Prof. Muti, and also Brother Adnan for opening our discussion while waiting for Professor Hussain to enter the Zoom room today. And Professor Hussain, good morning.
Voice.
Assalamualaikum
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, Qadri, please kindly spotlight Professor Hussain because I cannot see him. Yeah.
Oh, he's there. Yep.
Assalamualaikum. Finally, I can see you now, Professor Hussain. So you arrived at the right time for us to invite you to give the second presentation of our today's webinar. And ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to read the profile of Professor Dr. Hussain Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. He is the President of Minhaj Quran International, Deputy Chairman of the Board of Governors, and Professor at the School of Economics and Finance at Minhaj University, Lahore, Pakistan. Chairman of Minhaj Education Society, and this society runs 650 schools and colleges all over Pakistan. The chairman of Agos Orphan Care Homes, in-house boarding facility for orphan and needy children. The chairman of Minhaj Halal certification in Pakistan. The senior fellow of the University of Melbourne in Australia since 2019. And he is now well known. He is also well known author for over 40 books and has penned over 100 research works and publications. This is very awesome, Professor Hussain. And he has also traveled extensively to UK, Europe, North America, the Far East, and Australasia to deliver talks and lectures. And in December 2019, he was honored with the Global Islamic Finance Award in recognition of his meritorious research work in the field of Islamic economics and finance. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Hussain.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Aida, for introducing me to the forum. And thank you very much, Brother Adnan Suhail, for introducing me to a very right and I would say an important forum where I'm speaking today. And first of all, I would like to appreciate the beautiful presentation given by Dr. Abdul Moti, the Secretary General of Muhammadiyah, one of the largest religious organizations in the world, I would say. So it's a great opportunity and honor for me to speak on this through this platform to you all. And I hope that the purpose we all are gathered virtually today, Allah Almighty bless that purpose and vision, inshallah, for the betterment of Muslim Ummah and society at large. I believe I have to introduce Minhajul Quran International working and its expansion all over the world and the types of works we have been working on and the vision on which Minhajul Quran International was founded by our worthy leader, Shaykhul Islam, Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahirul Qadri in 1980. So to start with, it was, as I have mentioned, founded in 1980, October 1980. So interestingly, on 17th of October, we will be celebrating the birthday and anniversary of Minhajul Quran International, the 42nd anniversary of Minhajul Quran International on the 17th of October, couple of days after. So it was founded in Pakistan. That was the cradle for the organization, I would say, Pakistan. And then it did not remain in the country. So it is in a very short period of time, I would say, it has spreaded all over the country, and now it has a network, institutions, infrastructure in over 100 countries around the world, including all over the Europe, North America, Asia, and Australasia, Middle East. So almost 100 countries carry Minhajul Quran's international network today. On which principles this organization was founded? Minhajul Quran International was founded on the principle of education, initially to educate the people and society at large and then that covers the both categories and types of education. One is the religious education, and the second is secular and modern education. So Minhajul Quran has worked and has been working on both types of organized education all over the world, and established both types of institutions all over the world. The second salient feature or important principle on which Minhajul Quran International was founded was the transformation of society through moral and spiritual training. That was the second main objective behind establishing Minhajul Quran International in 1980. And then the third important principle on which Minhajul Quran International was founded was intra and interfaith relations for the unity. So that was the third principle. And fourth important principle was peace and harmony through learning the lessons from the life of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So spreading the peace within the Muslim society and abroad for the whole of humanity, while learning the lessons from the life of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the fifth main principle on which Minhajul Quran was founded by Shaykhul Islam Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahirul Qadri, Maddazillahul Ali, was the propagation of non-violence and moderate view of Islam. And sixth was a well-being of humanity through welfare and charity. That was the sixth principle. And the seventh most important role, I would say, Minhajul Quran International has played so far is towards empowering the youth and women of the society. So if, as a summary, I would like to summarize the activities and focus of Minhajul Quran International, so I would divide all those activities in these 7 categories. Minhajul Quran has been working and will be working, inshallah. Now, coming to the basic background, in which circumstances and what circumstances Minhajul Quran International was founded in Pakistan. In 1980, that was the time when the American-Russian war was taking place in Afghanistan. So Russia-Afghan war took place, and then it was almost ending, and then the Cold War was finishing at that time. So all that extremist mindset who were engaged in fighting United Russia on behalf of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and United States. So all these people, when the war was over, they were flooded in Pakistan, flooded into Pakistan, and they started joining various madrasas. And suddenly, in no time, we saw in Pakistan a lot of extremist mindset and radicals emerging from religious seminaries and madrasas, as well as other religious segments and organizations. So that was the time when there was a big fight going on between Ahlul Tashayyu and the Sunni Muslims, and they were calling each other kafir, infidels, and not focusing on the so it was a continuous fight going on. And then there was another interesting divide within the country in terms of education. There were three types of education institutions. We had government sector schools and colleges, universities, and then we had a private elite, completely secular, nothing to do with the religion. And then the third category was the religious institution, seminaries, Madaris or Darul Ulum we call. So they had nothing to do with modern sciences at all. So 3 independent nations were in the process of emerging, which had no interaction with each other. So that was the situation in 1980 in which Minhajul Quran International was founded. That on the religious grounds, there was a big fight going on between Ahlul Tashayyu and Sunni. So the unity was destroyed within the fabric of society. And then on the educational side, 3 different type of institutions were working at the same time. So it was a very chaotic position within the country when Shaykhul Islam established Minhajul Quran with the vision that we do not represent any one group within the society. We will call for the unity of the whole ummah, and we will call for peace, we will call for harmony, and we will avoid doing the hatred speech, and even we will educate people not to do so. And then at the same time, Minhajul Quran's original establishment started through institutions and schools and not from the mosques. So mosques were not the first institutions established by Minhajul Quran International. So the schools were established. And by school, I mean a modern secular schools and not madrasas. So the schools were established. And then at the same time, the colleges and couple of other institutions started developing, and that continued. But along with the schools, colleges, and institutions, we used to establish the mosques and prayer places as well. And then not just that, then Minhajul Quran also entered, as I have mentioned in all those list of 7 purposes of Minhajul Quran. So for the charity and strengthening the society and alleviation of poverty, so the welfare projects also started by Minhajul Quran International in Pakistan. And then later on, other religious education, first Sharia institution and college was established, where the ulama were educated with the modern vision and all inclusive vision they had and carried. So that kind of ulama or breed of ulama were educating in our religious institution, and then the modern class were educating in our Pakistan, the regular schools. And then right after the establishment of Minhajul Quran International, it wasn't that we experienced or we exercised for 50, 60 years only in one country, and then later on we thought to move outside Pakistan. No. The first religious and community center of Minhajul Quran International established outside our motherland was in Norway, which was in 1984. So within 4 years, first very beautiful center of Minhajul Quran International was established in Norway, and then that continued. And in 1988, there was a massive organization and gathering was established and called by Shaykhul Islam in Wembley Arena, UK, where all the religious scholars, professors, intellectuals, and shuyukh from all over the world, from Egypt and elsewhere. So all these people were gathered in 1988, only after 8 years of the establishment of the organization. And they were called in Wembley Arena in UK, which was all packed. And there, the vision of the establishment, vision behind the establishment of Minhajul Quran was shared with thousands of intellectuals and scholars from all over the world by Shaykhul Islam himself. And the kind of purposes I have described in 7 categories, they were shared with all those people. So that initial interaction with the Muslim community at large, so that was that gave a good introduction to the organization, and people were introduced to the organization there, and then they start joining Minhajul Quran International right away outside Pakistan. And within Pakistan, continuously, so our leader Shaykhul Islam, he traveled rigorously all over the country, and probably if there are 1,000 or more cities within the country, so there was no single city left which was not visited by Shaykhul Islam himself, and invited people to join this purpose and organization. So this was a little introduction behind the establishment, that how, in what circumstances this organization was established. Now talking about at present what Minhajul Quran International is doing, as our the moderator sister, she has already mentioned, only in Pakistan, we are running 650 schools and colleges which are educating and catering for around 150,000 students within the country. And these are the secular education systems with, as I have mentioned, one of the principle is transformation through moral and spiritual training. So that part and element is introduced through curriculum in these schools. Otherwise, they are the secular schools. So they are studying with us, and then a lot of scholarships are given, so to help the poor segments of the society. Then we have there is another officially chartered registered board by the government of Pakistan called Nizamul Madaris, which is at the moment has a association of over 1,700 religious institutions as well. So they are catering for thousands of students at the same time who are studying religion. But then they are very much different than the other regular madrasas. It is mandatory that everyone who is studying in religious seminaries, they have to do their matriculation from the regular boards, their 12th grade and intermediate level, and then they have to do all those needed modern secular sciences along with a good learning in English language and computer science, mathematics and sciences. So mandatory, all these subjects are mandatory even in those religious institutions. So that brings that moderate vision and idea in our institutions, whosoever graduates from our network. So 1,700 associated religious institutions, 650 modern schools running at the moment. Then we have 2 higher education top class institutions running in the country. One is chartered university called Minhaj University, Lahore, which is highly ranked university in private sector of Pakistan, where we have thousands and thousands of a very large number of students studying at the moment at Minhaj University. And then we have the second higher education institution called Jamia Islamia Minhajul Quran, which is dedicatedly and exclusively giving education in Islamic studies and Sharia sciences up to Ph.D. level. Same with the Minhaj University, that is for the secular education network, and where they are teaching medicine, allied health sciences program, law, engineering, all those modern programs. Then we have another outside Pakistan higher education, a good quality institution at the moment we have in Manchester. So that is in a process to become a university in near future, inshallah, and that is right at the moment associated with very top universities of UK and catering for a big number of students over there and teaching all those management sciences, modern programs along with Islamic studies. Then talking about the peace and integration centers, we call a community peace centers, the centers established by Minhajul Quran all over the world. For example, in UK, we have 10 centers in various cities. And then, for example, in United States, we have 6 centers. In Canada, we have centers. Even in Melbourne, I came across to this information that Muhammadiyah have a newly emerging or developing center in Melton region of Victoria, Melbourne. So we have a very beautiful center by Minhajul Quran in Melbourne as well, which is situated on around 35 acres of land, very dedicated big campus, where there is a mosque place, then there is a weekend school, education curriculum being taught. And now we are working towards establishing a proper, regular, registered schools in these countries as well. Then we have welfare activities going on, not just in Pakistan, wherever the crisis emerges. So Minhaj Welfare Foundation reaches there, and we have been working in India, Bangladesh with the Rohingya community, helped them in Burma, in Bangladesh, and then in Africa, many countries in Africa, Minhajul Quran has been working, establishing institutions. Then we have thousands of small hospitals, eye camps, eye surgery camps. So all these areas have been ambulance services. So these areas are being dealt by Minhaj Welfare Foundation, and our head office is in UK, Minhaj Welfare Foundation UK, so which became the initial contact point for us between Muhammadiyah and Minhajul Quran International. So that has been over there. Then we have been establishing orphan care homes as well. Only in Pakistan we have a good number of orphan care homes, and now we are taking this service abroad to other places in near future, inshallah. And then we have for the female children, and then at the same time that religious institution and modern institution equally catering for boys and girls, 50-50. And while talking about the empowerment, this is something new which was introduced by Minhajul Quran International in Pakistan. That was the time when no single religious gathering ever had women participation. So it was Minhajul Quran International only, and then Sheikhul Islam, who basically introduced the idea that the mother, the woman, is going to be the mother of the family, and ultimately the training of the children completely depends on the mother. And if we stop the mother, the women, from participating in the religious and social activities, how they will get trained and how they will be able to translate their training into their children. So this was the women empowerment, that wherever, whatever takes place under the banner of Minhajul Quran International, it is mandatory that equal participation from the women's side comes. And not just Pakistan, but all over the world, the majority participants and members of Minhajul Quran International, they are young like brother Adnan Suhail. So they are young people who have joined Minhajul Quran and who have understood the message of Sheikhul Islam, the message of peace, love, harmony. Then at the same time, we have been working on intra-faith and interfaith dialogue as well. So Minhajul Quran is at the moment only platform in the country, I would say that with confidence, only platform that on which Salafi would come and sit, Pakistani Ahlul Hadith will come and sit, Ahlul Tashayyu will come and sit, or any other group. They will be comfortable to come and sit and share the stage place with Minhajul Quran International. So that is the only organization. So that is actually the evidence of how Minhajul Quran has been working positively towards intra-faith relation and harmony. And at the same time, interfaith, for example, we have three main religious communities other than Muslims living in Pakistan. For example, Christian community, Hindu community, and Sikh community. Minhajul Quran works very comfortably with them. It's not just that. Minhajul Quran has given them a first department at the university level, which actually offers them in Pakistan that they are eligible, and they offer them, any Hindu can walk in there and do their university level degree in Hinduism. Any Sikh will walk in and do their university level degree in Sikhism, or any Christian will walk in and do their university level degree in Bible studies. Maybe that is not an astonishing thing in Indonesia, but that was something new in Pakistan. Not a single university provided that opportunity to the minorities, 25 million minorities living in the country. So it is only Minhajul Quran who gave that opportunity. That is why, other than the Muslim community, Minhajul Quran is a kind of organization which is loved by the minorities living in the country as well. And same is the case that we work abroad with the minorities, with majority other religions as well, comfortably. Another important salient feature of Minhajul Quran is Minhajul Quran, wherever it goes, they comfortably work with the governments. We have a good relation everywhere in every country with the governments. Clear, we take up collective, collaborative lines for the betterment of society and the communities. Last but not least, transformation through moral and spiritual training. That has been a core or very instrumental in Minhajul Quran, because we had a strong belief and faith in the idea that only education cannot resolve the problem. Education is only a piece of information, but that can only create difference if that enters into someone's life in the form of training. So that training involves that the Muslim youngsters, youth, men and women, they should be taught the real peaceful, good morals of Islam given by Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the spiritual side of Islam, which is the softened side, which is the side of love, which is the side of respect, which is the side of harmony. So this soft side of Islam, which is represented by spiritualism, and along with the moral education of Islam. So these two things come together to create the curriculum of moral training for Minhajul Quran. So we pay a lot of attention on that subject. For that purpose, there are institutions established by Minhajul Quran, and at the last 10 days of Ramadan, Itikaf that is celebrated very amazingly and at a large scale. Thousands of people, they come and sit in the soba of Shaykhul Islam, and then the continuous lecturing is for the moral education purpose. And then there is another Minaratus Salam institution where people come and join for days, and they get trained morally, spiritually, and recite durood and on Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam constantly, and the recitation of Quran. So we also get them engaged in such activities along with all those educational, charity-based, social, economic, religious, all these activities. So the spiritual side is also very important here in Minhajul Quran. So this was the little introduction, and alhamdulillah, it is expanding every next year, and millions and millions of people, alhamdulillah, they are members of Minhajul Quran, and we work with both communities wherever we go as Minhajul Quran. So Pakistani community, Indian Muslims, Bangladeshi Muslims, Afghani Muslims, and then Turkish Muslims, Arabs. So all these communities, they come together and join Minhajul Quran and work. But of course, majority comes from Pakistan and the Indian Muslim community. So this was from my side. So I will close these words with the thanks note again for giving this opportunity so that I could share the more information about Minhajul Quran. So now probably we'll have question answers from the forum, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Hussain. What a mind-blowing, and my jaw was dropping when I heard your thorough introduction of the Minhajul Quran International. And there are many questions that I actually have, but one point that I'd like to highlight before I open the question and answer session is that while listening to your presentation, I found that there are some similarities between Muhammadiyah and also Minhaj Welfare Foundation, or Minhajul Quran
Yeah, Minhajul Quran.
International.
The path of Quran. The
Yes.
path of Quran, yeah.
Yeah, Minhajul Quran International feels like we are like twins, even though there are also some differences. And therefore, I'd like to invite my colleagues who are attending our webinar today to give feedback, concerns, questions to our two speakers who are still in the Zoom meeting today, for Professor Muti and also Professor Hussain. Please raise up your hands and also mention your name and also your institution before you pose the question to the speakers. We have around 20 minutes for the question and answer session. Anyone, please raise up your hands. While waiting for the audience, probably I would like to start with a question. I was interested in your point on becoming the only platform that is able to open the discussion of intrafaith and also interfaith of different Islamic organizations in Pakistan. So, was there any challenge for Minhajul Quran International when you become the platform to deal with the different perspectives of these institutions in Pakistan?
Yes, of course, whenever a new voice emerges anywhere or a new idea is floated in the society, so there was always a challenge, and people, they feel confronted. So they confront the new voices. That is very natural, and one should expect all that. Yes, when Minhajul Quran was founded, so people did not understand an idea, because everyone was so much clear on the concept that all these intra-faith groups, they cannot sit together at one platform. So they had an issue, and they even raised that issue with Sheikhul Islam and Minhajul Quran, that why you invite other sects of Islam on your platform. But making them understand, convincing them, at the same time, we continued what we were supposed to. But, and Alhamdulillah, by the passage of time, in 25-30 years, so the society has opened up. So we actually see the difference in the society. Now, other groups, they have actually started acting on the similar lines as well. So they have opened up as well. Same was the case with interfaith relations. In 1998, Sheikhul Islam established a Muslim Christian Dialogue Forum, first time in the country. So people did not have an idea that what they are going to do. They had so many things to say against Minhajul Quran, against Sheikhul Islam, but we continued the practice. What we did, we invited them on acting upon the Sunnah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We invited the Christian community. We even opened the doors of our mosque. There was their prayer time, and then we invited them, okay, you can come in, walk in and pray here. Why? As Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did that with the Christian delegation from Najran. So he invited them and opened the door of a Nabawi mosque upon them, and they practiced and did their ibadah over there. And then even there was a Christmas celebrations for them. Some ulama, they had an issue, but we took it as a cultural festival for them, and we celebrated and appreciated them. So people did not understand that. But today, after the 40 years, the difference this practice of Minhajul Quran has made, now the Christian community of the country, now the Hindu community of the country, and Sikh community of the country, now they are celebrating the Mawlid of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that kind of integration has happened and took place. The difference has gone. They have become comfortable in relations. And the kind of hatred and closed environment we faced in 80s, Alhamdulillah, 40 years of time has changed the society very much. So now we don't face that much resistance from the society, but then new challenges keep on emerging, and one has to deal with them.
Thank you very much, Professor Hussain. I am now going to invite once again to my colleagues who has any question to our two speakers today, Professor Muti and also Professor Hussain. Or probably Professor Muti, do you have any question that you're going to pose to Professor Hussain? Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Muti. Professor Muti? Yes, please.
I have no question. I just want to share the opinion that so many activities that already done by Minhajul Quran International actually quite similar to what Muhammadiyah has been done so far. So we are also work quite extensively in many fields in education and also interfaith dialogue. And it is also the experience of Muhammadiyah, especially in the eastern part of Indonesia, where the majority of students in our university and schools are Christian and Catholic students. And this is the example how we develop what we call as inclusive education. It means that is education within Muhammadiyah and also education of Muhammadiyah is not exclusively for Muslim only, but it is actually for students from many different religions. And it is in this education that also students from Christian, Catholic, or Hindu or Buddhist, they have a religion education according to their religion respectively. So Christian students, they receive Christian education taught by Christian teachers. A Catholic also have the same system where they have Catholic religion education taught by Catholic teachers and so forth for the Hindus and the Buddhists. So the experience of this education might be worthwhile and maybe also meaningful in the context of building an inclusive society and inclusive education. And the one that I could understand from the presentation of Professor Hussain, the one that already done by Minhajul Quran International. And I think if we further elaborate, there might be a lot of things that we can do together in the form of partnership, or maybe exchange program or some other thing that Muhammadiyah and Minhajul Quran could work together. And just to share briefly about Muhammadiyah religious understanding, that Muhammadiyah does not affiliate to any school of thought and also school of law within Islam. And we might also refer to the verses of the Quran in Al-Maidah 48. Likulin ja'alna minkum syir'ata wa minhaja. So we do not have madhab, but instead we actually have our manhaj as well. So in Muhammadiyah, we have our manhaj al-Muhammadiyah or manhajul Muhammadiyah. That might be similar to the name of your organization. That might be, I suppose, also inspired by this verse in the Al-Maidah 48, in which by having the madhab, I think we might be, segregated within Muslim communities, but by having the manhaj, then we could be actually, integrated within Muslim, because I think we fully understand that Sunni and Shia are the product of the history of Muslim in the past. And I think when it comes to this story, then we need to learn the history, that the positive side of the history is one of the lesson learned that we could continue, but let's say the negative side of the history is the reality that we could avoid and also remedy with our new future, and maybe also the creation of the inclusive Islam, not only of course in a particular country, but also in many countries, as I think Minhaj already has experienced in many different countries, not only in Pakistan, but also in the UK and elsewhere in Europe and also in the rest of the world. This is my response from the presentation from Professor Hussain, and hopefully after this first conference, there might be also a further conference that could further elaborate the area and the possibility that we could work in partnership. And from this meeting, I think I get on behalf of Central Board Muhammadiyah and also this steering committee of World Peace Forum, I think I can also extend our invitation for Minhajul Quran International to attend our Mu'tamar in Solo, and I think Brother Dr. Sayuti could further follow up to send the invitation to you as participants or maybe observer of our Mu'tamar, and also to join the 8th World Peace Forum that jointly organized by Muhammadiyah, CDCC, Center for Dialogue and Cooperation Among Civilization, and Cheng Ho Multicultural Education Trust. That is actually a Buddhist organization based in Malaysia, but they work in cooperation with Muhammadiyah. So hopefully this is the first encounter that could be one of the very important steps for the partnership and exploration for many possible cooperation. Thank you, Bu Ida.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Muti for your remarks and on the presentation. So here I would like to add a little more for the better understanding of Minhajul Quran to the forum. So yes, one thing you have pointed out very rightly, that it is the same verse which inspired the name of Minhajul Quran International. So from which the name of the organization has been driven out. But then at the same time, as you have said, that Muhammadiyah, they don't associate with any school of law, specific school of law and other groups. So here I would like to elaborate here. Minhajul Quran International is not that case. So we associate ourselves with the school of law. So most of the associates of Minhajul Quran living in Pakistan and India, most of them are Hanafi.
Yep.
And we consider ourselves, we call ourselves Sunni, but we do not go into further divisions, regional divisions people they have created. So we call ourselves Sunni Hanafi most of the time. But at the same time, this division does not stop us from respecting others, loving others, bringing them close. So we, having our own path and having a confidence and a strong belief in our own path, we are still open to all other school of laws. And then Shaykhul Islam has given a lot of importance to ijtihad itself, a lot of importance to ijtihad in our organization, that the door of ijtihad is opened, and that is necessary, because every 100 years or less time, things are changed, need of the society are changed. So we have to evolve as well. So that would only be possible if the door of ijtihad is opened. But then again, the ijtihad is not something which everyone can do. So it has to be a qualified people to do that. So the ijtihad is open, and then Shaykhul Islam has still a little liberal view on the concept. For example, the Islamic banking and finance, economy, politics, international issues, or issues of a global nature. So for such issues, Shaykhul Islam is of view, Minhajul Quran is of view, that instead of sticking to one school of law, then that shifts towards taqleedul madhahib instead of taqleedul madhab. So because that's something which is of a global nature. So even the school of laws itself provide the foundation, and ahadith of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam itself provides the foundation and opportunity that once the Muslim Ummah faces the global issues of global nature, for example, the halal industry, what to be called halal, what not to be called halal, Islamic banking products. For example, in Pakistan, they follow Hanafi school, so their Islamic banking products changes. Someone follow the Shafi school, their banking products change. So for that purpose, Minhajul Quran has been propagating that the global matters should be shifted from taqleedul madhab to taqleedul madahib, where you look at all 4 or 5 madahib at large, and you bring the ummah to unite on one single issue, while following the and dealing with the international issues. When it comes to your local ibadat, the way of prayer, how you fast, when to open, when to keep your fast, so basic ibadat matters. So that keeps you disciplined when you stick to one specific school of law. So that is the how Minhajul Quran believes in, and at the same time, from the theological perspective or thought perspective, we call that we are Sunnis, and we also have a strong faith in Sufi education and spiritual education of Islam. So that is an important part of our organization. But then again, all these beliefs does not stop us from being progressive, from being advanced and far-reaching towards other societies and bringing them together. So we never found school of law or having a specific identity of being Sunni or all these matters, or even having a good faith in spirituality. So all these matters, we have never found them hurdle in our way towards progress and development. So with all these belief systems, we are still, alhamdulillah, we have been progressing, and in these 42 years, we have been able to establish a unity among the sects and the groups of the society. And one more thing about the education, I appreciate it is very right that the education system of Minhajul Quran International, it's very close to what Muhammadiyah is doing, and I appreciate that Muhammadiyah is also working towards the peace and interfaith dialogue. One more thing I think that is common between Muhammadiyah and Minhajul Quran International, that is the effort of rebutting extremist mindset, extremism and terrorism. So when 9/11 took place, and then all terroristic activities and terroristic organizations were emerging like mushrooms in the society, so that was the time from the platform of Minhajul Quran, Sheikhul Islam gave a very comprehensive fatwa verdict having 600 pages, clarity and clearly declaring whosoever commits the suicide or doing the bombing or killings, Muslim or non-Muslim, without following the legal channel, so they are clearly throwing themselves out of the ambit of Islam. So this was the clear stance, and then Minhajul Quran has produced over 45 to 50 books, calling them peace curriculum, and been taught in various walks of life and universities and colleges and presented around the world, which has created a lot of difference, alhamdulillah. And especially even the army men in the country, the soldiers here, when they were fighting the terrorist organizations in the country, so they were bit confused, because they said that both groups are calling Allah's name and saying Allahu Akbar. So we are confused which group is right. So even soldiers, they were a bit confused while fighting the terrorist groups. So it was Sheikhul Islam's work and Minhajul Quran's literature which was distributed among them by the government of Pakistan, and which actually gave them a very strong footing to fight terrorism and clearly understand what Islam stands for and what Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam educated us. So that is, I have heard that Muhammadiyah was on the similar and same page in terms of denouncing terrorism and extremism. So I see it as another opportunity and commonality between these two large organizations. And thank you very much for Dr. Abdul Muti for your invitation. And I would also like to extend invitation to your good self and your platform to come and visit us in UK and Pakistan whenever you feel comfortable, and will be more than happy to host you to attend various international conferences take place all the time here in our country, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hussain. And we almost ran out of time actually, but we have one participant who is already raising his or her hand. Bapak or Ibu Asmi, please unmute yourself. Bapak or Ibu Asmi, please. Okay, now we have one question actually in the chat box from the Secretary of our Council, Dr. Sayuti. Please explain us the methods of Minhaj nurturing or educating the members of or the cadres to be the sustainer of the foundation. To Professor
Halo.
Hussain.
Halo, Assalamualaikum.
Oh, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pak Asmi?
Oh iya, oke
Ya,
bisa
Pak Asmi.
kedengaran Ibu Ida? Kedengaran?
Yes. Ya.
Oh, oke, baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your Honor, Bapak Profesor Dr. Abdul Mukti, Bapak Profesor Dr. Qadri, Ibu Ida, serta peserta Zoom lainnya, Bapak Profesor Dr. Edi Suwanli Hamid. This is a very interesting discussion on internationalization from an Islamic organization perspective. And it's very interesting, and this is about how to strengthen and to expand the organization without losing its local roots or local tradition, especially for Manhaj al-Quran. And here, of course, there are some challenges when we want to strengthen, especially to expand the organization in the international international place. And I want my question is to Professor Dr. Qadri, Hussain Qadri. What are the big challenges for the organization when to strengthen and to expand the organization in the international arena or international places? I think that's it, Ibu Ida, my question. I am Asmi from STIE Muhammadiyah Jakarta, Ibu Ida.
Thank you, Pak Asmi, from
Thank you, Ibu Ida.
STIE Muhammadiyah Jakarta. Professor Hussain, we have around 2 minutes to answer the question. There are 2 questions from Sir Asmi.
So should I respond to it now? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. So while expanding to other regions and parts of the world, so usually when you move outside your comfort zone and to other countries, so you face a lot of challenges, but the major one was the scholars, because initially in our first phase, the scholars and ulama, they were produced in Pakistan, in the religious community. So then they were sent abroad to represent the organization in various community centers and organizations. So they were taught here in Pakistan, in Pakistani environment, and overwhelmingly educated in Arabic and Urdu language. And the language barrier was one of the major issue when moving outside. So first generation was all right because they were the migrants from Pakistan and India to all these countries. So they were happy with their local languages, while all those scholars, they were teaching in those community centers. But then as soon these people, they had their second generation, and their second generation started associating and affiliating with Minhajul Quran in all these countries. So there was a sheer emergence of a need which was felt that now you need a local produce of ulama and scholars, so that the youngsters and next generation, they could relate themselves with those young scholars, and they don't see them as a generation gap between them, that someone migrated from Pakistan and they're not well versed in their own local languages. So that was something which then motivated Minhajul Quran International to establish the local institutions, educational institutions and Sharia education institutions and colleges in other countries as well. So now, Alhamdulillah, even though Minhajul Quran's age is not that old, so it is it's just the second generation or early third generation time frame we are passing through. So rightly or right in time, and at the moment we are passing through that phase as well, where we are establishing such institutions to produce local ulama in Europe, in United States, Canada, Britain, and other countries. So I'm sure maybe in next few years down the line, we will have a breed of local ulama and scholars with which the next generation they would be able to relate well. So that was among many other small challenges. That was one of the main challenges, where you have to provide a community leader to your community living abroad, and especially then those generations who are born there, so they need someone from them. So while continuing and taking your vision abroad, your vision, your education, your mindset, which you have learned here, but then converting into the local language and cultures and integrating it, and then providing that to the next generation. So any organization would face that. For example, I'm sure when Muhammadiyah would be moving out, so they might face such issues. And for that purpose, what we have found the solution is to establish our own local institutions outside Pakistan in those countries where they are to be produced.
Thank you very much, Professor Hussain. I think pasti Professor Hussain has already
Thank you.
replied to your questions, and I'd like to read two questions from important people in our Muhammadiyah organization. First is from Pak Sayuti or Dr. Sayuti, as the secretary of our council. He questions on the methods of your organization to nurture or to educate the members or the cadres to be the sustainer of the foundation. Please, Professor Hussain.
Can you come again, please? Because
Okay.
I couldn't get the question, please.
Okay, so in the chat box, as you may probably can see,
What is that?
Dr. Sayuti, as the secretary of our council, was wondering. Can you hear my voice, Professor Hussain?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah. So, Dr. Sayuti was wondering on your methods of nurturing or educating the members or the cadres of Minhaj Quran to be the sustainer of the foundation. Do you have a certain method?
Okay, so basically, it's not I won't call it a very aggressive, full-fledged a training camp or a program. Mainly what we do is, as I have mentioned, that the transformation and the moral training and the spiritual education. So our schools, 650 schools in the country and abroad, same is the case with religious. So one thing we have worked on is the curriculum for those schools. And these curriculums are again then registered by the government of Pakistan, and wherever they are being taught, so they are registered by the local governments, these curriculums. So whatever we need to communicate to all these members and students especially, so that is there in curriculum, that is. So which give, for example, that peace, love, harmony, interfaith, intrafaith, respecting each other. So all these values are inculcated in that curriculum, which are going to be taught to the youngsters and students. So this is the model for the students mainly. And other than that, for the regular members, whoever joins Minhajul Quran, so in Pakistan and abroad in all the countries, I would rather say 70% or 80% of our organizational times goes into training programs, training sessions, workshops, lecturing. So it is a very regular education practice for the regular members. So it is always focused on that. Literature is being produced all the time. We have a dedicated departments working on the literature. And then all these scholars I was mentioning, so they run a regular workshops for the regular members, male and female, working on all these social issues and emerging new issues within the Muslim Ummah and community. So for them, there is no specific curriculum, but then of course, a regular training and workshops are run. And what makes it more standardized is the literature of the leader, Shaykhul Islam. So he is the author of 1,000 works, and around 600 books are already published by him. So he has written almost on every area related to Islam and social life. So that provides us as a rule book and the principle, and then all other training sessions and workshops, they are developed and run around that literature, and then more literature and works are added by the other scholars of the organization into it.
Pak Sayuti, any comments on the feedback?
No, thank you. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Dr. Hussain.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sayuti. And the last question
Thank
will be from the Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur, Bapak Bambang Setiaji. Dr. Bambang, would you like to open the camera, probably?
Dibacakan aja, Mbak.
Okay. So the question from Dr. Bambang is that how to explain to UK society about the principle of Minhajul Quran, especially on the non-violence one. Professor Hussain?
How do you explain this?
Yeah, how do you explain to the UK
Non-violence, yes.
Yeah, non-violence.
So the principle of non-violence, which I mentioned, is by. Sorry, there is something wrong with the voice, so it takes me little time to understand. So sorry for that delay.
No problem.
UK society, yeah. So basically, there are two sides to this answer. One is the philosophy of non-violence. The philosophy of non-violence, the basic main principle provided by Shaykhul Islam and the rule of Minhajul Quran is no militancy at all. So it, in any case, you cannot take arms in your hand, and you have to work with the governments, and only protest or resistance or raising your voice is possible through a democratic process, and there is no other process. So this basically the thumb rule for non-violence behavior. Now coming to the British society, UK society, how that applies there. As I have already mentioned that the scholars and ulama, because in our view, whatever has been happening, or even the youngsters joining terrorist organizations in Syria and other countries, going from Europe, so somewhere they had some connections with the mosques where some scholar was standing and preaching extremism to them, which motivated them to leave their comfortable lives of Europe and go and join those terrorist organizations. So at first place, if you look at the British society or other, the non-violence behavior, how we propagate is by making sure that all these community centers have a right kind of people who are only propagating love, respect, tolerance, and the peaceful and loving message of Islam. So that is one thing. The second important thing is the counseling of the youngsters. So our office bearers, the youth, the youngsters, they engage regularly with the youngsters and youth. If we find that they are into such extremist mindsets or behaviors or ideas, so they are worked on so that they improve in their mindset, and they leave that extremist or narrow-minded approach. And the third thing, Minhajul Quran UK has been regularly running Al Hidayah camps, and under that banner, so they organize regularly. They organize multi-days camps, which are very well attended by the youngsters, brothers and sisters, where a proper sessions and education programs are run to de-radicalize them, to soften them in their behavior and approach. So by literature, distributing the literature, by lecturing, by making sure the right person is heading the community over there, and heading the community center over there. So all these approaches, they become helpful to work towards the non-violent objective within the European and British society.
Thank you very much, Professor Hussain, for the response to Dr. Bambang's question, and that becomes the conclusion of our today's webinar. And before we go to the closing session, I'd like to have a short recap of what have been presented by Professor Muti and also Professor Hussain. As I mentioned earlier, that while listening to the two speakers' presentation, I can see that we are actually a bit similar. We have many things in common, many similarities, even though there are also some differences. And for me, it's like seeing two twin brothers or two twin sisters that have, that have similarities and been quite long not to meet each other. And Alhamdulillah bil alamin, because today we can get to know each other on Muhammadiyah and also on Minhajul Quran International, so that this meeting can be followed by many other collaborative activities in the future, especially in Indonesia and also Pakistan and also some other countries that we have branches, both Muhammadiyah and also Minhajul Quran International. So some things that are in common between Muhammadiyah and also Minhajul Quran International is that we start with the principle of education and humanity as our philosophy, and based on this philosophy and also the spirits, we have established many schools and also orphanages and universities. And another thing that is also in common is that we have established the platform or the the media to have interfaith and intrafaith dialogue. And we also have the same spirit of promoting peace and harmony of Islam in the world. And we also have the same effort to oppose the radical thoughts and actions in the world to fight for Islamophobia. And the last one that I can catch from the discussion is that we also have non-violence or no military at all. And if you want to give criticisms or comments on our government, then we will do it in a democratic way. So there might be many other similarities that that are established in Muhammadiyah and also in Minhajul Quran International. And I think this short time will not cover everything. And we hope we look forward to having more collaborative programs and collaborative activities in the future. And hopefully that our branches in the same countries can also have discussion like this. And we also would like to again repeat the invitation from Professor Abdul Muti for Professor Hussain to attend to our Muktamar, so that you could use this chance to again introduce your organization and the similar spirits and actions that we have already done about Muhammadiyah and also Minhajul Quran International in these big events of Muhammadiyah. So by saying that, I will rest my case as the moderator and of the sessions, and we are going to close this session. But before that, please, for all of the audiences, could you please kindly open your camera so that the committee will take your picture together. Mbak Shifa?
Yes, Bu Ida. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Could you please guide the picture taking session?
Okay. Okay, it's done, Bu Ida.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Mbak Shifa. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorable speakers and participants, we have now come to the end of this event. I truly believe that we have learned many insightful new ideas from both Professor Putih and also Professor Hussain. On behalf of the committee, the Council of Higher Education, Research and Development of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah, we'd like to extend our deepest appreciation for our speakers for sharing their valuable insights. And also, thank you very much for all of the participants for your active participation during this webinar. Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak Bapak dan Ibu, and I will close this by saying wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah. I would like to thank the representative of the British Embassy of Jakarta as well for creating this opportunity so that these two organizations can come together and share their experience. And thank you very much, all of you. And it was lovely meeting you all, inshallah. And I hope we meet sometime in person soon.